Okay, CNT140, horizontal cabling lab. We just got done putting all the patch cables on all the offices to go from the PCs to the wall outlets. So we literally we did the horizontal cabling first. We did the closet patch cable second. There we go. A little easier for me to say now. And then we did the user patch cable here from the outlet to the PC. So there literally is a valid layer 1 connection the whole way back to the closet to the switch port. Hence why we now have green link lights next to the PCs. And actually, if I hold it next to it, it tells you approximately how long it is and what it's connected to, which is pretty stinking cool. Okay, so as I hold over these, it actually tells you the length and where it's connected, if you will. Okay, oops, I accidentally clicked on there. It's got to reconnect itself. Oops, hang in there. You can do it. I got ahead of myself and clicked on something I shouldn't have. Okay, so let's go back to our lab now, and we want to now, in the third part here, do our client network settings. So we're going to, on our network, in the actual closet, I don't tell you to do this, but in the closet on this server, I do actually have DHCP running. So the server is here sitting ready to hand out IP addresses to the nodes in the network. Actually, it looks like my connection there. Looks like my connection got faulty for some reason. Looks like I might have lost a connection there. So let's do see if there's, punchdown 3 is open. We'll go to rack. It looks like in my little exuberance, I lost the connection. There we go. Restored that connection. Excellent. Okay. So we're going to, in our PCs, we're going to verify that they're getting an IP and they have connection. So I'm going to click on this PC, desktop, IP config, do DHCP, and it should pick up an IP address. And I'm going to continue around the building, making sure all these get a valid IP address. If they do, that tells me that my layer 1 connection, all this cabling I just did, is fully functioning, or functioning enough that we have a usable data connection. There we go. So there's my first office. I'm going to come down here to the second office, and I'm going to start working my way around. And what I should see, let me do this office here and I'll show you. What I should see after we get these connected, we're getting IP addresses, which is what I want. It means it's talking to that DHCP server. What I should be able to do now is when I just hold my mouse over the PC, it should be showing me the IP address it has, and this link is up and functioning. And then if I hold my pointer over the link, again, it should show me the distance and, the wall mount jack 1, and then the closet, it's going to, there we go. There's the wall mount jack 1, okay? And then the distance into the closet and so forth. All right, I'm going to pause while I do the other offices, and I'll come back when I'm done. Alrighty, so I now want to every client computer in my network change the settings to a dynamic IP, and each one of these is now getting an IP address from the DHCP server. So I could hold it across any PC in here, and I could see there's 121, 122, 123. There is all the IP addresses of all the devices now. So every single one of these pulled up an IP and has a valid connection back to the closet, to the switch in the closet. So the last piece now is let's verify connectivity. So we are looking at the main floor plan with all the PCs, and I do see link lights there, and we are picking up IP addresses. But let's go look in the closet. So I'm going to tell you here to go back to the closet again. So go back to the closet. We're going to get near the switch, and I'm actually going to use the magnifying glass maybe like once or twice here. And I'm going to zoom in on my switch pretty close. Now if you take a look, remember before I pointed out there would be link lights? Now there's link lights actually showing. Showing that, hey, there is connections on all these ports. I don't can I go further? No, I think that's as far as I can go. There we go. So there is all the link lights on my switch. And if I were to disconnect one of these, don't do this yourself, but if I were to disconnect one of these, you would see that that link light right above there, right above my pointer, has gone out. That link is no longer good. And actually, if I were to go out to my network, let's go here. That's that computer right there. That's the one that no longer has a connection because I yanked the patch cord. And it even says, it's like, okay, it has an IP, but that's going to time out pretty soon. I'll go back to my closet and I'll restore that patch cable. So we're going to go here to jack 8. This will be port 9. That would have been PC 9 out in the network. And if I go out there, there's PC 9 working on reestablishing. All right, so we're back in business there. All right, so we can actually see there is the link light still negotiating on that guy. But there's my link lights in my closet. We're also going to, let's go to the switch. We're going to open, there's the physical tab. Let's go to the CLI tab. We're going to hit the enter key a couple times. Do enable. We're now into the switch configuration. And we're not going to really do much. We're only going to look at this point. 125 people, this would start making maybe a little sense to you now. We're going to do a show command, show interface status. Show interface status. So, actually, I got ahead of myself. If you're not used to switches, there's my user node prompt. I'm going to use the enable command. That's going to get me to admin level where I can actually do things. And I'm going to issue the command show interfaces status. And this is going to show me the status of all my switch ports. I want to make this nice and wide. And it actually shows that ports 1 through 24 are all connected. This 1 gigabit is not. They are all connected. So if I were just looking at the switch, I could at least say, well, yeah, things are connected. I'm not sure how well they work, but at least all the ports are connected. And if I had one disconnected, which, okay, let me go back here again. Let's blow one of these connections away. Let's pick on port 1 this time. I'll go back to my switch. And I'm going to, you notice the switch gave me a heads up of like, hey, there's a port down. But if I repeat that show interface status command, you'll see that this port 1 is not connected. Which is the point of looking at a command like this, showing me from the switch end what's going on. Again, I'm going to return that connection, jack 0 to port 1, get that reconnected. And if I were to go back into my switch, it's saying now it's up. And if I do the show interfaces status again, you'll see that that's now connected again. Okay? That's the point of running a command like that from a switch. Again, I might be remote connecting into this switch from another site, another city, another campus, and I can run commands to see what's going on if I'm not able to see what's going on in the closet. All right, so we now know we have all the ports connected. We could see it from, I'm going to close that out. We could see it from our large map. We're getting IPs. If I go in the closet, I'm looking at the patch, the link lights, I'm seeing link lights. If I look at the switch, I'm seeing status connected. There's one last thing we're going to do. On some of your workstations, pick a PC from Office 1 and pick a PC from Office 2. So I'm going to randomly pick, PC number 2. I'm going to open up my command prompt and I'm going to do an IP config. What do I get? Hey, I'm getting a valid IP. Yay. I'm going to go back to the desktop. I'll open my web browser and I'm going to browse to www.cnt.org and I should have a web page load that says, hey, welcome to the CNT140 web server. We actually loaded the web page from this server right here. I have an HTTP service running as well on this server and we just loaded that web page. That's all we did. So do a couple spot checks. There's Office 1. I'll do another spot check over here in Office 2. I'll open the web browser and I'll put in www.cnt.org. There we go. And I'll just do a couple spot checks. I'm not going to have time to do every single one. But if you were doing a project like this, trying to get things connected, there's certain things you would check all of. Stuff like this, if I just do a couple spot checks on browsing and so forth, things should be okay for everybody. So do a couple spot checks on that. All right. Now, last but not least, on this packet tracer part of the lab, I want to make sure I save my lab. So I'm going to do a File, my packet tracer, file save as, and I'm going to point it to the desktop so I can find it. And I'll call it Brown Horizontal Cabling Lab. So use something like your name, Smith or whatever. Brown, I'm just going to abbreviate this, Horz Cable Lab .pkt. Leave that PKT on. Actually, I'm going to even abbreviate that even more. And I'll save that. You're actually going to submit this completed file to me. What I will do is I'll launch it, and I'll probably do a spot check or two on one or two of your PCs to make sure you do have an IP address and full connectivity to like the web server. And that way I'll know you have done this piece correctly. You've done all the cabling and patch cables and all that stuff correctly, that all these devices have connectivity at least to the web server in this facility. All right, so save that for submission to D2L. All right, that takes care of the packet tracer part of the lab. I'm going to come back in the next podcast and talk about how to do the questions.